Hello, and welcome to this lesson. Using natural expressions, or idioms, is a great way to make your English sound a lot more natural to native English speakers. This lesson is about different natural expressions, or idioms, to express nuance when you or someone else knows something. In this lesson, I'm going to show you 4 natural expressions, or idioms, to use when expressing that you or someone else knows something. The first one is to know something inside out. That means to know every detail of something. For example, Jeff has worked here for 20 years. He knows the system inside out. That means Jeff knows every detail of the system. So there's the first example. If someone knows something inside out, you could also say they know their stuff, which is our second natural expression for this lesson. It means basically the same thing. For example, Jeff has worked here for 20 years. He knows the system inside out is the same as Jeff has worked here for 20 years. He knows his stuff. And often we might put the word definitely in the sentence as well. He definitely knows his stuff. So those are 2 expressions to use when you or someone has a very in-depth knowledge of something. They know every detail. Next, we have 2 expressions you can use when you hear or see or sense something and it reminds you of something from the past. But maybe you don't remember exactly what it reminds you of. In that case, you can say something has a familiar ring to it. That means that whatever you are talking about, the something, it reminds you of something else, but you can't remember exactly what. For example, this book has a familiar ring to it. Maybe I've already read it. Or the song in the musical had a familiar ring to it. That means you might have read or heard or experienced something before, but you don't quite remember exactly. And our final expression today is when something rings a bell. We use this when we have a vague memory of something. For example, his name rings a bell, but I'm not sure from where. This expression is also a great way to answer a question. For example, do you remember when we went to Vivace restaurant? You could reply, the name rings a bell. That means you don't remember the restaurant, but you kind of remember the name of the restaurant, but you aren't sure. It's a really popular expression we use when we only have a vague memory of something from the past. Well, those are 4 expressions you can use to express knowledge when you know something or somebody else knows something. To know something inside out, Jeff has worked here for 20 years. He knows the system inside out. And that's the same as to know one's stuff. Jeff has worked here for 20 years. He knows his stuff. To have a familiar ring to it. This book has a familiar ring to it. And to ring a bell. His name rings a bell. They're very useful and native English speakers use these expressions all the time. See if you can use some of these expressions next time you are speaking or writing in English, because then you're more likely to remember them. And you'll create a great impression with the person you are talking to or writing to. Well, that's everything for this lesson. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and share it so we can help others who are learning English too. And if you have any questions or comments, please type them below. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next lesson.